Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for clicking. That means a lot to you guys. Keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. And today we're talking about our final video in this series that we've been doing this season and last season for this season in who will win Survivor 42. It's a very loaded question, although I have a clear pick. I think there is a possibility at least for other people to win. So I'm going to go through the 5 people left and tell you who has a chance to win and who I think has the most chance to win. And you may be surprised by my answer. As always, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff because it's free, it's easy, and it really helps the channel out. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about, and the one that I think is the most fitting to get out the way immediately, is Romeo. Romeo's played a horrendous game. He had some control in the pre-merge and played maybe an above average game in the pre-merge, not a legendary like Shan pre-merge game, but definitely like a good pre-merge game where really I thought it was him and Swati in complete control of their tribe up until the Swati blindside, where I think he loses power because then his whole game goes into the hands of Drea, who then ditches him at the merge for people like Hai and Lindsay and things like that, and also Omar. And so I think really what it is as soon as he loses Drea and also loses Swati, his game's over, because at that point he really can't play that aggressively, and he actually falls into the same group of like misfits as Tori and Chanel was. And that's crazy, because if you told me when he was at the height of his power during the pre-merge on the tribe with him and Swati basically controlling the whole tribe, and you said that he would be in the same spot as Chanel and Tori come merge time, I would have slapped you across the face. But that is in fact the case, and that's why to me he has a 0% chance of winning the game. Complete GOAT, which actually may guarantee him a spot at the final 3, and I'm pretty hesitant to say that he'll actually go home. I think he's a very good candidate to get dragged to the end as a GOAT. Next up we have Lindsay, and really it's weird. It's up until like episode 9 and 10 when her feud with Jonathan started to really kick up, and she really started to gun for Jonathan a lot. We really didn't get much content from her, and I thought she was going to be our purple edit of the season, but then she's now at this point she is a viable winner pick. I don't think it's necessarily the most smart one, but it wouldn't be like laughed at to say, hey, maybe Lindsay could pull it out. I think that Lindsay's biggest issue is going to be that lately she's been playing the game bad. No edit. It has nothing to do with the edit. It is 100% based off of her gameplay. First, she has her ally Andrea get blindsided, and she's the only one left out of the vote. And then she clings to Omar, who also gets blindsided. So she's almost like poison at this point. And it seems like whenever she tries to gun for Jonathan, Jonathan is able to pull numbers on his side, despite Jonathan's flawed social game, and get her allies out in Omar and in Drea, and also in Hai. So it seems very weird. I will say what she does have going for her is the fact that she isn't as big of a threat jury-wise, at least in people's minds, as far as Jonathan and Mike. I think personally that Jonathan and Mike are not really going to be issues at the end as far as juries go, but I think that they may think that's the case because, of course, to them, they've seen like, what, 6 white guys win in a row, so they're like, oh no, we have to get the white guys out, when in reality, in this new era, it seems like you can only win if you're a person of color and a female. And so it's interesting. I think it puts Lindsay in a better spot because she is a female there, and if they do like a female alliance thing at this next vote, it could really help her. But it's going to be tough because I think this first vote with Mike having an idol, Marianne also having an idol, and then on top of that with Romeo being a GOAT, it's going to be between Jonathan and Lindsay, and it's going to be a tough decision for the other people as to who they want to take out. Speaking of Jonathan to me, he has no 0 chance of winning the game. I think his edit at the race tribal where Drea tried to weaponize her race and to basically keep herself there and not get blindsided, and she did it in a very impressive way. That tribal really sealed the deal because they really edited Marianne and Drea in a positive way. And I had said at the time of airing that either Marianne or Drea has to get to the end and at least come close to winning, and that Jonathan will be the person who goes out earlier, maybe around 5 or 6 or 4. And I think I'm right. I think in the end, Drea goes out. And so now that leaves Marianne, the person on like the quote unquote good side of history at that tribal, as her argument was edited very well. And Jonathan was edited basically like a doofus at that tribal council, and like almost like trying to come on too strong at the wrong times, but then also not standing strong in his boots, not really having a backbone. Which is really unfortunate, and it's so obvious that they just want to push their own agenda. But I think Jonathan's game, as far as his edit, is done. I think on the island, he might be able to pull in Mike's vote. I think he could also pull in Rocksroy's vote. Aside from that, I don't know who else is voting for Jonathan. Everyone's kind of pissed off with Jonathan. People really don't respect the physical game nowadays, and he's also gotten beaten out by Lindsay a few times in challenges, despite how unfair the challenges are for his body type. But on top of that, I also think that his strategical ability is not necessarily the best. His social ability is terrible, and his strategy is lackluster at best, if not just straight up bad. And so really that leaves his physical game, which is, I guess, okay. It's not like crazy. He hasn't won 5 individual immunity challenges or anything crazy. He's won, what, 2 and then 1 reward. I will say it's impressive, and he definitely is a provider, but that's not really valued nowadays. And so that's why I think Jonathan has a 0% chance of winning the game at this point. Next up, we have Mike, who I think is a very interesting person. I think he's one of the few people that can challenge Marianne's amazing winners at this point. And on top of that, Marianne's personal growth arc that's been happening on this season so far. And then I'm sure if she gets to the end, she will sway to the jury very much so. I think Mike has played a fantastic stretch. He's the best player probably on this season that's still left in the game. I think overall, probably Omar will go down as the best player on this season. But I think overall, I would personally say that Mike is playing the best game right now that's still left. I think he plays a better game than Jonathan. He obviously plays a better game than Marianne. Marianne has maybe 1 move right now, and even then that move could be argued to be Mike's. But I think the high blind side was mostly Mike, if not also Mike and Omar. I think on top of that, the Drea blindside was almost all Mike as well, although it was also with the help of Omar. But now that Omar's gone, Mike can kind of take credit for these moves. And then on top of that, this past round with Marianne's big move, it was kind of Mike's move also, if not completely. And so I think Mike, his best way to do this is to just take credit for all of those moves that are made by Marianne and Omar. It's just going to be whether or not Marianne can fight back, or whether or not Omar will go with it on the jury. It's very tough. It's going to really come down to, if the jury comes in wanting to vote for Marianne, they will vote for Marianne if Mike and Marianne are at the end together. But I think if the jury comes in open-minded, Mike could sway them over. He's also a pretty good talker, extremely likable guy. I think his biggest issue also is that his demographic does not win Survivor. First of all, old guy, as far as just Survivor overall, rarely ever wins Survivor. I'm thinking Bob, and aside from that, I'm blanking out on Tom Westman. Those are the only 2, like, quote unquote old guys. And Tom at the time really wasn't an old guy. He was more middle-aged, if anything else. So old guys really don't win Survivor overall. And then as far as demographics go in this new era, I think that white males are at a complete disadvantage, as juries have their side agendas in making the winner part of their victim group or things like that. And so he's definitely at a disadvantage, but I do think he could still win the game. And lastly, and one that I really don't want to spend a lot of time on, is Marianne. It's so obvious. If there was a winner pick that dropped from heaven, it was just so obvious, it's Marianne. Her edit has been great this entire season, giving her positive content in the midst of her being a crazy person. They even showed her being crazy and then turned it in a positive light about how it's her personality, or it's actually for strategy. I'm actually tricking everybody. This actually helps my threat level. It's always something positive that it gets spun into. And I think it's a classic editing trick when trying to give the real story of Marianne being crazy while also making her edit positive. And so I think it's a very obvious Marianne win coming in, but I could be very, very wrong. But what do you guys think? Who is your winner pick? Do you think Marianne's a super obvious winner? Who do you think has 0% chance to win the game? Let me know in the comments. As always, none of this happens without you guys. Without you guys, I'm sure we're grasping a weird microphone. So as always, thank you. And if that's it, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.